MidwestUSA.com.
Is your joint pain or nagging injury stopping you from doing the activities you love? Missoula Bone and Joint has excellent surgeons across all specialties. From neck to toe, we are here for you. Shoulder, hip, and knee arthroscopy and surgical repair, elbow, wrist, and hand, including microvascular surgery, foot and ankle reconstruction, sports injuries, total joint and partial joint replacement, spine, including neck and back, interventional pain procedures. Get back to enjoying your life. Call Missoula Bone and Joint today.
Do you know a high school student who knows how to work hard, compete, and be a giver in everything they do? Do you know a high schooler who excels in the classroom, who exemplifies school spirit, and is involved in improving our community? Nominations for the Mattress Firm Student of the Year are now being accepted. Nominees should exhibit 3 core values: working hard in all they do, competing in school clubs, sports, or other activities, and giving back to their local communities. A new student will be selected for each week of the fall and spring semesters. They'll not only get a chance to share their story live on Tutel and Nuanez, but they'll also have a chance at a $3,000 college scholarship at the end of the school year. Head to mattressfirmmt.com/students to make your nominations today, and let's celebrate our hard-working students.
Turn your whiskers into wishes. Make-A-Wish Montana is holding their annual No Razor fundraiser. 60 Montana children with critical illnesses are waiting for their one true wish to be granted. Your magnificent mane can help raise money that can help kids that have a wish and desperately need for that wish to come true. Fun, easy, and for the kids. There will be prizes for top fundraisers, events throughout the state, and one fuzzy contestant will walk home as the best beard in Montana. Register your beard, real or fake, at montanabeardies.com. Beard on, Montana.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Tutel and Nuanez, Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, sports talk from Montana for Montana. Live from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana! The NFL Combine shifts into high gear. Full cost of attendance, a conversation, and Shane Burkar, the interim head coach of the NAU men's basketball team, all on the show today. It is Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Not interim, first-year head coach, Shane Burkar. Hi, how are you, boys and girls? Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you on this very fine Wednesday afternoon. Hope you are having a wonderful day. Thank you for letting us spend some of it with you. We appreciate that very much. Let's take a look at what we got in the show today. We're going to have some questions. Colter and I have a number of themes in the show today, a number of topics. We're going to discuss those topics in the forms of questions with each other and thereby with you here to get things started. We also, as I mentioned, going to have in about a half an hour from now, Shane Burkar, the head coach of the Northern Arizona men's team. They are in 4th place, alone in 4th place. They're one of only 4 teams that are over 500 at this point in the season at 9-8, and they are also hosting the Montana Grizzlies on Thursday and then the Montana State Bobcats on Saturday, and he has done an outstanding job. I mean, they were picked, I think, 9th in the preseason polls. They are right now 4th in the standings in the Big Sky Conference. So Coach Burkar has done an outstanding job, so we will catch up with him. It is also a Wednesday, so we will be doing some trivia. It'll be a Wing It Wednesday. We'll get you some wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern. Themed questions today on the NFL Combine, and I'm going to try and tie this in a little bit to, Montana with Dante Olson competing in that, I guess, performing, however you want to talk about it there. At the top of the hour, in hour number 2, we'll do some more Wing It Wednesdays. We also will have our ESPN Roundtable with Leon Costello, the athletic director of Montana State University. They're doing a bunch of fundraising. A great conversation that he had with Coulter when Coulter went over there early for the Montana basketball games that were there over the weekend, and talked with him about full cost of attendance, about fundraising, about the state of affairs just in general at Montana State and in the athletics department. And so a very interesting conversation with him, which we will bring you as well. And we will get into some prep extra stuff. The Hellgate basketball teams, boys and girls, both winning last night over Big Sky. No surprise there in either case. Raleigh Wooster, 27 points in his home a finale for his entire career. So an outstanding day there. So there you go. That is our show outlook. If you'd like to call, 329-1899, the phone number. All guests join us via the Rankish Brothers RV phone line. And if you would like to listen on the World Wide Web, perhaps it's easier for you. You can put the phone and the headphones and do the thing. 1029ESPN.com is where you go. That's our website. You can find all kinds of things there. The podcast, links to the Grizz Great podcast is there, and you can listen live on the stream. Thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Coulter, hi.
What's up, Gus?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
I have some questions here that I've put together. One question on each of the prevailing topics of the show today. Big Sky Conference basketball,
okay,
the NFL Combine,
okay,
and full cost of attendance. Okay,
great.
So I got some questions for you. You may have some questions.
I do.
For
I have
me
some questions
as well.
for you as well.
So it's not a true blindside. Well, it kind of is, but
totally
it's
is. We haven't seen each other since
That's
corn. Right. That's just the first moment I've realized that I'm in the same room as you. Since then, so.
There's so many reasons why that was a phenomenal comment that you just made right there. Let's get into it. I want to start just with the NFL Combine. It's going on right now. They do these things by position for folks associated fans of the University of Montana Grizzlies. Dante Olson will be participating in that. He just had his measurements today, 6'2" and 3/8 officially his height.
The most amazing part about this is that 97% of the guys that go to get measured at anything are never as big as they are, or is never as big as you think.
Right. 6'2" and 3/8, 237. It's Dante Olson, 237
Which he's been 6'4", 245 or 248 for a couple years.
Life, evidently.
Yeah. I just think it's amazing. I guess it just reaffirms when people say that a guy is 6'4", 250, how big you actually have to be. Everson Griffin, think about how big he is. Everson Griffin is 6'4", 260. Like, that is what 6'4", 250 looks like. You know what I mean? Well, and it's not to say that 6'2" and 3/4 or whatever Dante Olson was and 237. I mean, he's not. This measurement didn't kill him by any means. It's not as if he's like this tiny guy or anything like that. I just think it's so interesting how everybody shrinks at the combine.
Well, and that's what one thing too about the combine is all the numbers, all of them, both the ones that are absolutely objective, like height and weight, and the ones that are, if you're doing a handheld timer compared to the electronic timer of the 40 and that kind of thing, everything, like when you know exactly the truth of these things, it's different than the pro days very often, where you get some numbers and you go, like sometimes you go, who ran, this guy ran a 4.25. Did he? Did he run a 4.25? Bet he didn't run a 4.25.
Right, because no one runs a 4.25.
Right.
No one. Like Deion Sanders and Michael Vick run 4.25.
Well, and here's
That's
the example. I forget the because you hear this all the time, and then there's one guy who you go, oh, well, he actually did. Tyreek Hill. You go, okay, well, maybe so.
It's actually good from David, though. David just texted that this last year on the Grizz website, Dante Olson was listed as 6'3", 240. So, I mean, they actually weren't fibbing for him. They
give him a little roundup. But,
just a little bit, but sure. That's kind of just what it is.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing, too.
In cleats, you are 6'3", 240.
This wouldn't surprise me at all if, well, I don't know. You lose weight throughout the course of a football season in general.
A ton of weight.
Okay, a lot of weight. It also wouldn't surprise me if at this point he's not trying to put weight back on. I mean, he's trying to be – he wants to be strong, obviously, but for Dante Olson in particular, I think linebackers in general, okay, you do the bench press, it's what it is, but it's all about how high can you jump, how fast can you move. I mean, that's the stuff, and obviously having a little less weight is, generally speaking, more beneficial to that. Here's my question for you, though.
Okay, ready.
Here we go. What position group do you think the NFL Combine is the most important for? Or is there one? Because I realize there's scenarios and situations for individual guys where it's very important, other guys it's not really that important.
Yeah.
But is there a group that you think that it is?
Yes, it's corners. I think it's almost definitively corners. What do you think? Because I just think that corner a damning 40 time is
you can't hide.
Nail in the coffin. If you run a 4.6, it's unless you're. I mean, Joe Hayden is the only corner I can really remember who ran like a 4.55 or above, and still was drafted in the first round and still was a Pro Bowl style guy. So many guys plummet if they don't run sub 4.5 because that's just what you have to have.
Yeah.
I mean, Tremaine Johnson was right there. He ran 4.5 flat, and everybody was like, man, is he fast enough? Which is crazy to say at 6'3", 205 pounds or whatever Tremaine Johnson was at the combine. You're 4.5 flat, you're still not fast enough.
He ended up going in the third round, Tremaine Johnson did. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's not. I'll say it like this. I think it's progressively more important the more important speed and burst become to the position. So I don't think that the offensive linemen, by and large, that this is as important for them. I mean, you can sit there and watch them do the 38, 39, 42 reps all day long. That to me has not been an indicator very often of how good these guys are or how well they've been even drafted or anything. It's something, but it's not that critical. And
totally.
The 40, like them running the 40 is insane to me. Like, it's fun to watch the dancing bears dance, but this is dumb. Like, why are you doing this? Now, the 3-cone drill, I can get with that, like where that matters,
sure.
And you can see stuff there. But by and large, it's about the film for an offensive lineman. How many guys have you just railroaded?
Well, it's like I always say, though, this time of year when it comes to the combine or your pro day, what a scout thinks you might be, if you can exceed that, no matter what it is. We were reading Dante Olson's projections, right? And everybody realized his instincts, his nose for the football, but all the NFL analysts, they're all saying, step slow, play at a small level. If that's what the perception is and you come in and you're a step fast, it helps you just because of just the perception of your prospects.
No doubt.
And it's just like with offensive linemen, are you a good athlete? Are you ready to compete? That's what it comes down to is it's a very rare occasion when an offensive lineman walks in the combine and can't bust out 20 or 25 reps, let alone 30 to 35 reps on the bench. But if you can't, what have you been doing?
Right.
Why are you not prepared? This is your job interview. What is going on with you? But I agree with you on the 225 thing too, because a lot of guys are just really good weightlifters. A lot of guys maybe aren't as good at weightlifters. If you have really long arms, it doesn't necessarily cater to being really good at it. Whereas like a guy like Stephen Paella, I think he's still a starter in the league, so he's certainly. I mean, the strength is worth where he went in the draft. Yeah. But you look at him, I mean, he's a 6'2" D tackle. I think he's got the record.
49
reps. Because he's so wide. And he's 330 pounds. So
because
he's just
his arms
extend
2 inches beyond his pecs.
Right.
It's not that far to go.
Iosua Peta from Weber State. Yep. Last year at the Combine, he busts out 39 reps. And he didn't get drafted. He's on the Eagles roster now. But
he was the... Was he the high or maybe number 2 in the whole group in terms of the bench? But you definitely see it. I mean, the wide receivers, Chris Conley absolutely went in the first round. I mean, DK Metcalf soared compared to where he was going to go, and so that can help. But again, those are sort of individual circumstances. All right, what's your question? Chris Conley went in the third. Did he go in the third round from Georgia? That's what, David, you're saying to me? Okay, all right. Nonetheless, he helped himself considerably, Chris Conley, on that. All right, Coulter, what question you got for me?
Does Dante Olson have more to gain or lose at the Combine?
Gain, 100% gain.
I agree, and I think that he's the first FCS prospect in a long time because I think that it's very rare that a guy comes out of the Big Sky where you're like, this guy, the perception is always, can this guy play in the NFL? Not, this guy can play in the NFL. How big of a risk are we going to take? It's only been the Cooper Kupps, the Samson Ebucoms, the I'm trying to think of somebody else, Tremaine Johnson.
Scott Gregg.
who at the combine you're like, okay, this guy's likely getting drafted. It's just a matter of improving his draft stock as opposed to not getting drafted at all or not even getting invited to the combine. The fact that he's getting invited to the combine in itself, I think, says a lot. But I also think that I think that the best thing, I think so often the perception of what you are coming in the combine hurts a lot of prospects. The fact that people think Dante Olson's slow and not explosive, I think is going to help him so much because I really do think that there's certain tests where he's just going to blow the mark out of the water.
I think you're right, and I think here's the thing: like at the point that you've been invited to the combine, you have crossed a threshold that's a very impressive one. That said, once you just limit it to that group of elite football players, the best football players of this class in the world, okay, almost always the FCS guys are going to be at the very bottom of that group, okay, in terms of perception, expectation, whatsoever, all that kind of stuff. So in general, if you're an FCS player going to the combine, I think you likely have far higher to go up than to drop because you're already low. So if you end up being a step slow, well, of course that doesn't help you in terms of getting drafted, getting on a team or whatever, but also maybe it's sort of, okay, well, this is what we thought. But if, like you said, you surprise people and all of a sudden you have a 38, 39-inch vertical leap, all of a sudden you can, run a sub 4.7 as a linebacker, sub 4.6 maybe as a linebacker, something like that. You'll go, oh, wow, okay, that's good. And now all of a sudden, that starts to go up. And again, you only need one, really two. You need kind of two teams to feel like that they're into you,
I know we don't get stuck on this because I want to talk about some of these other things too, but I want to ask you one thing about this. I was thinking about this the other day. Mm-hmm. McKay Murphy from Weber State a couple years ago. He's Dale Murphy's son. Dale Murphy, the 7-time All-Star baseball player who is kind of the litmus test for the Hall of Fame. If you're better than Dale Murphy, you're in. If you're not, you're not. But McKay Murphy was one of Dale Murphy's, I think, 7 or 8 sons, most of which played college football, half of which played in the NFL. But McKay Murphy, his agent took videos of him working out before his pro day. He didn't get invited to the combine, but he took videos of him working out. And so then they had that in their back pocket on social media. He had a video of McKay Murphy doing 41 reps on the bench. And then McKay Murphy at his pro day in front of the scouts got to 29 and tweaked his pec and racked it and said, hey, I could feel it. I didn't want to tear it, but go check out my Twitter. Now, I think that there's a chance where you could fudge some numbers when it comes to the times, but there's no fudging 41
presumably,
reps.
Unless, you
put
zoom it
weights,
in real quick, whatever, but yeah. Well, I mean,
anyways,
if
what do you think of the concept of archiving some of your stuff so that even if you don't perform on that specific day? So in other words, what I'm getting at is that Dante Olson, according to people at Montana, has had a consistently 41-inch vertical and as high as a 43 or 44-inch vertical.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know.
If you have a video of that, though, then that it is what it is. The vertical test, it is what it is. So if you have a video of that, I would just say I would keep that in my back pocket. I just don't know if there is that. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think of that concept?
I mean, I think it's good. Like I think it's there. I mean, especially if you're not going to the combine, I think at the combine there's part of it. A big part of it is what are your numbers? What can you do? But I think there's another part of it is there's a lot of pressure on these guys at the combine. Okay, this isn't fun. This is hard. Not just hard work doing it, but it's stressful and strenuous. You are at a job interview to go to the NFL. Right. I think scouts and coaches and GMs want to see, can you do it here and now?
Totally.
When the lights are on and when you are on NFL Network and when we're all in the building, okay, it's great when you feel good in your gym and you work, up to the thing. But now, like, okay, your number is called. Go out. How fast can you run right now? Show me that you can rise to the occasion. And I think that is important. So I think that factor gets lost. But sure, like you said, you can do 41 reps on the bench and it's there and you can say, look, this is what I could do. Then, I mean, it's kind of hard to, argue that fact.
I know we're going to get into more about the combine, but one last point as far as the way that Dante Olson's performance fits into this thing. I think, to me, he knows what his numbers are and what he can do, and it's just going to come down to calming the nerves and doing it, especially with the freak shows that are in the linebackers group now. Like last year when you were watching Devin White from LSU test, there's no pressure on this kid. He straight knows he runs 4.45, and I mean he does everything. I mean his combine was must see. I mean he ran a 4.42 last year, 39.5-inch vertical, 9.10 broad jump, 22 reps on the bench. I mean he's doing that on a bad day. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you're running 4.42 in your underwear in front of everybody, then that means you've been doing that forever. I mean there's no. That's a lot of gifts that you have there. All I'm saying is that I think that if Olsa just stays within himself and doesn't look at the other guys around him, he's got a really good chance to put up some big numbers. I just really do think, the one thing I hope is just for his sake and the people in this state that have watched how dominant he's been, that he doesn't come up completely short because it would be – I mean, if he went out and like threw down a 4.840, that would really be disappointing.
Well –
but I don't think it would. I think just in terms of the hype around him, I don't think it would kill his draft status or his NFL prospects.
Stu Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
I should rephrase that. It would kill his draft status. It wouldn't kill his NFL prospects.
We move on to full cost of attendance. I have a question for you on this briefly. Okay. Leon Costello going to be on the show as our ESPN roundtable. You talked with him about this. The discussion about full cost of attendance. He
taught me a lot, actually.
Yeah, and it's in there. I think it's going to be very informative for a lot of people. But one of the things that comes out of that, you don't have to give. You can give any amount of money up to the full amount that is allocated to you in Montana State. It's like $3,700.
And we also mentioned that there was Title IX involved. The Title IX is more specific than what I had broadly said. I said that it was Title IX, like you have to have it for every student athlete. That's not true. You just have to offer it for the same percentage of your population. Yeah. So the reason that throws it off is because if you do give it for football, now you have to find an equal amount of women's sports, and there's very few women's sports that have the numbers that a football team is going to have.
So I'm going to restrict this to just football, and I'm going to say this as a full 100% deal, not a half cost of attendance or whatever.
Yep.
Okay. The point of this is to get players to come and play for your football team. Okay.
Yep.
How many more players do you think would say yes to Montana or to Montana State than currently do so if they had the full cost of attendance, $3,700, as part of the scholarship package?
I think it's really hard to say because I think that right now they're not really using it in recruiting, so it's hard to say who would bite on it with recruiting.
Well, you can't use it in recruiting because it doesn't exist.
Totally. But what I'm saying is that, like right now, Bobby Hauck is almost exclusively looking for developmental style prospects. Mm-hmm. So he's not going up against schools that offer full cost of attendance. A couple guys, that was the case. I mean, Brandon Casey, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago, he got an Oregon State offer late. But he told us, he said, I chose Montana because of proximity to my home, my familiarity with the program, and the fact that they have such great tradition, and I just want to win. So the full cost of attendance that Oregon State could have offered him, it's not really a deciding factor one way or the other. But most of why Jeff Choate was standing on the table about this before the playoffs is because of the North Dakota State thing. Yeah. And they have it, and he thinks it's an advantage for them. And it is an advantage for them. But by and large, Montana State's not recruiting in the Midwest where a lot of the schools in that area have it.
I mean, I guess my question, you're recruiting 22 to 24 guys a year, right? Okay, in your recruiting classes.
Yep.
So now you have full cost of attendance for everybody. But I got to think that a majority of those kids are probably going to go to your school anyway. When you're talking about the in-state kids that want to play at, Bozeman or Missoula and whatever it is. So it's a lot of money to gain. I don't know how many guys. I mean, I would think maybe in a best-case scenario, 5 in any given year, and often maybe just 1 or 2.
Because especially when we're talking about Montana State, what are they using in recruiting? The three things they're using in recruiting more than any other pitches are the quality of the education, especially if they can identify engineering-oriented students. Because Montana State right now is absolutely a world-class engineering school. No, there's no question. It's one of the best engineering schools in the country. So they're finding kids that fit that academic mold. They're selling all the momentum of the community of Bozeman. When you talk about facilities, their athletic facilities are good and on the way to becoming better, but it's the non-athletic facilities. It's the student facilities. Like that new Yellowstone dorm that they have, that's on par with anybody.
Yeah.
The 2 mess halls they got, the rendezvous dining hall.
There's a lot of single, like like single family, whatever groups that are like, hey, let's move out of our house and move into the dorms. This is all right.
The Miller Dining Hall and the Rendezvous Dining Hall, those are as good as it gets in the West. So they're using that.
I'm failing myself, man, because when I go to Bozeman, I like to sample around. I go to some of the restaurants. So I gotta go. I gotta go in there, put my money down.
Absolutely,
and eat.
It's one of the best deals in town. It's $8. You can eat whatever you want. And then the third thing they're selling is early playing time for out-of-state guys who maybe are Mountain West caliber or fringe FBS guys. So then, if you have full cost of attendance, I still think if you had it, it's still fourth on the list.
Yeah,
I think if Montana too, if you have it, it's a feather in your cap certainly. But as of right now, the way Bobby Hauck is recruiting, he's looking for guys who want to be a part of something and guys that want to be a part of the program.
What's your question?
Well, that's funny. I asked my cost of attendance question was very similar. Like, how much of an impact would it have, or is it necessary? So we'll move on. So my Big Sky basketball question is this. We're going to have Shane Burkar on from Northern Arizona here momentarily. And right now, in the offseason, there was a mass changeover in coaching, right? You had new coaches at Montana State with Brian Fish getting let go, Don Verlin getting fired at Idaho, Bill Evans getting fired at Idaho State, and Jack Murphy at Northern Arizona. Mm-hmm. With those four guys, take Bill Evans out of it. And I think this is actually the irony of it. Bill Evans was not the hotshot recruiter who came from the big time, came from a Power 5 program, or coach for a coaching legend. He was just the solid dude who had won a ton of basketball games between his time at Southern Utah, his time as an assistant at Montana, and then at Idaho State. And I think that in my opinion, Bill Evans is a much better basketball coach than Idaho State ever deserved in terms of the disadvantages that program had. And because I really like Coach Evans and he just done a lot for me in my career, it sort of makes me happy that Idaho State sucks. Because the guy's 70 years old. You could have just given him a year-to-year contract. He would have signed it, and when it was time to go, he would have had a conversation with you. Yeah. But then to fire him, it's humiliating. And so the fact that they are not as talented and not playing as hard and they're in last place, sometimes you get what you deserve. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very interesting to analyze the other three programs.
NAU, Idaho,
and Montana State.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a better recruiter than Brian Fish.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a better talent to Montana State than Tyler Hall. Mm-hmm. You're not going to find a guy who's going to do a better job at Idaho in terms of navigating the challenges there and gets talent like Vic Sanders and Trayvon Allen and Perrion Collindret to the University of Idaho. I mean, it's been a long time since they won 20 games there, and it might be a long time till they do it again. Mm-hmm. And NAU, I mean, Jack Murphy had worked in the NBA. He'd worked at multiple Power 5 schools. These three guys are slick recruiters. They're going to bring in a ton of talent. But all three of their programs, particularly NAU and Montana State, were missing a little something. What was it? No one could really put their finger on it. Well, I wanted to ask you this. Again, I don't think that you're going to find guys that are better recruiters at those three schools. But for whatever reason, it hardly mattered. Idaho had the one really good year, but then just completely went down the drain in the tournament. But I think it's ironic because now you have guys that have no real...
What's your question?
Well, the guys that are there are getting their guys to just play their absolute butts off without the pedigree. But what is it going to do to the landscape of the league? Because on one hand, I mean, there's no question to me why NAU is better than people think. Because Jack Murphy's a great recruiter. He just wasn't a great coach. Mm-hmm. He had problems with player retention. So I guess my question is, what's better for the Big Sky? To have guys that are fully invested that maybe aren't the brand name headliner type coaches that are going to bring brand name headliner type recruits in? You got the blue collar coaches and the white collar coaches. That's basically what I'm asking. What's better for the overall league? Because I think on one hand, the guys who are out at those schools, I don't know if you're going to bring in as talented of players ever again, but that might not necessarily be what they needed to have success at those programs.
Blue collar coaches. I mean, if that's how I'm understanding it, guys who are great quote unquote coaches when you talk about basketball and guys who are able to get great talent in, if those are your two options, the former is the one that's better. The ability to be a great coach in house rather than bring in the great guys. We've seen plenty of very talented teams who have not lived up to what their potential was. That said, the way you become a great recruiter, to me, I mean, there's some guys who are They're great talkers. They're great salespeople, however you want to talk about it, and they can go in and they can do the deal. They can do it. They're very well connected and all that kind of stuff. But Tom Izzo was nobody that anybody had really ever heard of outside of the state of Michigan when he took over the job. Now, I mean, he had a great pedigree. He got a job at a Big Ten school. But you understand what I'm saying. Duke was a nowheresville to be before Coach K got there, okay?
Right.
The point is, the key to being a great coach is being there's lots of keys to it, and there's lots of things that these guys do well. But if you are invested in the place that you are at, you can be successful, and then success breeds success. I mean, there is, at this point, with Travis DeCuire as the head coach at the University of Montana, a momentum about this program in this conference that outshines all the other ones. I mean, that if you're talking to kids who are 16, 17, 18 years of age, the last 2 seasons, they can go in and say, this is what we've done. This is when we've gone to the NC2A conference. This is tournament. This is what we've accomplished.
Right.
And with him still being here, that, in Missoula, that breeds on itself. Is Travis DeCuire a great recruiter, or is Travis DeCuire a great coach?
Both.
I agree with you. So that the point is that he can get kids in, but also he can get kids in because of what they've already done. I mean, he's got a great pedigree as a recruiter, but also he can say, not only can you come play for this tradition, but you can come play for me now. Like, he couldn't say that his first year, right? I mean,
sure.
He couldn't tell himself per se as, look at what I've done, look at what we've done as a staff since we've been in Montana. Now he can do that. Guys who are able to stay long enough to create that, and it's hard to do, you got to be good in the first place, build on themselves. But at a place like the Big Sky Conference, I mean, you always need talent, of course, the best talent you can get, but it's so much more about playing hard, playing well, playing fundamentally sound, however you want to talk about it, to be successful.
I totally agree. But Montana has such tradition, and that's what we've learned, and trying to teach everybody with this Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast series. It's so much bigger than Travis DeCuire or anybody else. It's about all of these guys. And obviously, I think that Coach DeCuire, in certain ways, is as good of a fit, and Montana should feel as fortunate as any coach they've ever had to have him in certain elements because of his pride in his alma mater, the way he's able to fuse the advantages and disregard the disadvantages at Montana.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is that I think that when you look at Montana State specifically, the Danny Sprinkle example, Brian Fish just wasn't a good fit at Montana State. He brought in tremendous talent, and they just couldn't make it work for a full season. And I think that he would even admit that to this day. And I think he feels bad about it, but he tried hard, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. You move your separate ways. I think Sprinkle, in terms of understanding the advantages and disadvantages of Montana State, is a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Idaho, who knows? Who knows where they go with Zach Klaus? They just removed his interim tag yesterday. I just think you're going to be hard-pressed to get Vic Sanders to Moscow, Idaho this day and age, unless you were a slick recruiter. And Don Verlin was a great recruiter because of his time working under Stu Morrill for all those years. And NAU, I'm so interested to see what Shane Burkhardt does, because watching him coach when he's been on the, watching him on Pluto TV, watching the live stream, he's an incredibly demanding guy. He's a disciplinarian. He's going hard at these guys. I think he's gotten their chemistry to mesh much better than any of Jack Murphy's last 3 teams. That said, talent was way far down the list as far as the issues that Northern Arizona's had. Mm-hmm. Honestly, Jack Murphy was such a good recruiter and such a recruiting machine. I thought NAU's biggest issue the last 3 years was having too many guys, too many good players. He brought in transfers from all over the place. He recruited high-level guys from all over the country. He used every connection he ever had, but then they'd get in there. There's only one basketball, so they wouldn't get along, and so you'd just be butting heads. But now Burkhardt forced a couple guys out. Now he's got a core of 4, and they're above average, solid basketball team. That said, where does he go from here?
Right.
If he doesn't have the dudes that Jack Murphy left him, it's going to be an interesting analysis.
Speaking of Shane Burkhardt, he joins us right after this. Mildenberger Motors in Hamilton, family owned for 65 years. Best prices on new and used cars and trucks only at Mildenberger Motors.
Seafood lovers, it's time to get cracking at the Montana Club's annual Lobster Fest. Feast on one of our 19 mouth-watering lobster dishes, live Maine lobster, succulent lobster tail, and tantalizing one-of-a-kind lobster specialties. 3 big days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, March 5th through the 7th. It only happens once a year. Don't miss it. See the menu at montanaclub.com. The Montana Club's Lobster Fest on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process, so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree Podcast, Episode 7 is out now, featuring a University of Montana legend, Larry Krystkowiak. Coulter, Coach Krystkowiak had one of the great playing careers at the University of Montana and then returned to his alma mater to be the head coach for 2 seasons in 04 and 05 and 05 and 06, went to the NC2A tournament both seasons, and in his second and final season at UM, they became the last team in the Big Sky Conference to win an NC2A tournament game.
We call this the Grizz Greats, and he is one of the greatest Grizz of them all. Larry Krystkowiak, an in-state product who went to high school in Missoula, was the only 3-time MVP in the history of Montana basketball and the only player to ever score 2,000 points and grab 1,000 rebounds in his decorated career. A phenomenal career for Larry Krystkowiak that continues to this day at the University of Utah.
Just search Grizz Greats wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe and enjoy the entire series of Grizz Greats, available thanks to Blackfoot Communications, Stockman's Bar, and Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate. Hey guys, Ryan Tutel and Colton Nuanez from Tutel and Nuanez. Hey, we're not just here for your entertainment, we're also a bastion of knowledge and information as well.
If you want to know what's going on in the world of youth sports, from sign-ups to camps and other activities, tune into Tutel and Nuanez on Tuesday.
That's right, interviews and information with people who know to make sure that your kids get all the best in sports that Missoula has to offer this Tuesday on Tutel and Nuanez.
The youth sports segment is brought to you by Pepsi Cola of Missoula, proudly supporting youth athletics in the Garden City.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. In the final home game of his illustrious career, Raleigh Wooster led Hellgate to another dominating crosstown victory. The Utah State commit went out in style in his final game at Missoula Hellgate's gym by leading the Knights to an 86-45 victory over Missoula Big Sky. Wooster scored 27 points in a victory that keeps the top-ranked Knights undefeated. Wooster's scoring total was his 4th best scoring output in 37 home games and his 8th best total overall. The soon-to-be four-time All-State selection and the reigning Montana Gatorade Player of the Year now has 1,662 points, the most in Hellgate High School history. The Knights finished with Wooster's home career with a 30-7 mark in their gym, including their last 21 in a row.
One thing that's eluded Wooster is a state championship. The Knights are the overwhelming favorites this season with 1 game remaining in the regular season. Hellgate will enter the Western AA Divisional Tournament with the number 1 seed, Big Sky, who upset number 3 Sentinel less than a week ago. Got a team-high 13 points against Hellgate from Cade Olson on Tuesday night, but they remain just with 1 victory.
In girls basketball action, number 2 Hellgate scored a season-high 66 points in a 66-25 win over Big Sky Tuesday. That win moves the Knights to 15-2, including 11-2 in Western AA play. The Big Sky Eagles are 0-17 on the year.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
Shane Burkar.
Make it to the other side.
Sorry. Coach's Corner brought to us by Opportunity Bank. Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Coach Burkar joined us earlier on, and we were kind of double booked. Coulter, you were down at the University of Montana talking with Coach DeCure and some players, and so I was here speaking with him. So you'll just be he and I on this interview that you're about to hear. But really interesting to talk to him. I want to talk more about this after we listen to it, because I think once you hear a guy who just about everybody listening will probably be listening to for the first time, the head coach of the Northern Arizona men's basketball team, I think you'll be really impressed. So here you go, first-year head coach of NAU, currently in 4th place in the Big Sky Conference, Shane Burkar. Off we go now to the Rankage Brothers RV phone line, and we welcome in the first-year head coach of the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks, who hosts the University of Montana Thursday and then Montana State on Saturday, Shane Burkar. Coach, thank you so much for being with us. How are you?
Good, Ryan. Thank you for having us.
Well, certainly happy to have you on, and I'll tell you what an impressive season you've had. I think that, expectations externally were not very high with Coach Murphy leaving and you coming in for a first year, but you've proven everybody wrong. But I think you had an idea that you could be pretty good. What gave you that confidence?
Well, no, I think that's exactly right. I know we were picked 8th or 9th, depending on what publication you read. And I was here last year. I was fortunate enough to be here last year as an assistant coach, and I know these players are here, these young men, student athletes, and there's just something about them. I think even with Coach Murphy would have had a successful season here. And we're not done by that, but I appreciate you noticing that. And just the expectations of our guys and knowing them gave us, I think when you always get a job, you always have a good sense of your team, and also high expectations early. And fortunately, so far, we've been able to do that throughout this season.
It's so interesting, too, because you spent a lot of years as a head coach at the high school level in the area, but you came on, you've only been the head coach, or you've only been on the staff 1 year prior to being the head coach now this year. I know turnover is part of the coaching deal, but it's always interesting to me to see how coaches navigate when a coach leaves, and you got upperclassmen who maybe only have 1 or 2 years left to kind of do that, and not having the history with the team. How did you integrate yourself to get buy-in from guys like Brooks to Bishop and so on?
Well, our athletic director, Mr. Mike Marlowe, he said it best in June when we talked. He said, "Shane, just be yourself," and that really put me at ease. And I was going to be, I was a long-time head coach. We had a lot of good players. So, I just think building those relationships, I think any good coach knows the game. They know the X and O's. But I think the next level coach really understands their players and cares for them. And I just been lucky that I just naturally care for people. And I just think last year being fair to them, being hard with them, I think I had that instant credibility with them from a coaching point of view, and just the respect of them. And I just think it's important to treat people right. Obviously, as a coach, you still are the authority on things. There is a fine line. But I just built that relationship with the guys last year. And the other thing is we have such a good university here at Northern Arizona that I think I like being here in Flagstaff and going to school.
Shane Burkar joining us. He's the head coach at Northern Arizona of the men's basketball team in his first year there. Currently NAU in 4th spot, holding a bye position at 9-8 in the league. And Coach, Northern Arizona has tremendous basketball tradition at the school. What are some of the advantages, or maybe some of the disadvantages too, but of that school and that place when it comes to men's hoops?
Yeah, I don't think there's any disadvantages. I think if you speak of disadvantages, it's nothing more than an excuse. You have to make your job, your situation, wherever you are in the country, the best that you can. I think our location is really a good spot, and I think some people would use that against us, but we could really recruit the Valley, our Arizona kids well. You're just 2 hours from being from home. And, I'm sure you understand the APR, Ryan, and maybe the listeners don't necessarily do, but we've had a lot of success in the state of California. The last 48 APR points, we've had 47. So, that 5.5 to 6 hour radius has been really good to us. And I think people like the 4 seasons here. And you spoke about the tradition. It's been 20 years since the school has been in an NCAA tournament, but I think anybody who follows college basketball knows there's been a lot of good teams since then. And, I've said this, and I'm not trying to sell the program at all. I'm just answering your question, is I think this place is a gold mine. I think with my experience being from, Phoenix area and coaching at metro area for so many years. I really believe in this place, and we can hope to continue to grow this.
You know, right now you're sitting there in a great position, and it's all about really trying to get a bye. I mean, going into Boise, that's kind of the key to the whole thing, the main thing that you can play for. And you got two good teams coming through this week in Montana and Montana State. How do you go about navigating that? Because you only have 3 games left in your season. You're kind of a game up on everybody in terms of the number that you've played. So this becomes obviously a very big weekend for you to hold that spot, right?
It is. You're exactly right, Ryan. It's an exciting weekend here for us. One of the biggest weekends that we've had in several years, I know. And, how we navigate it is just day by day. And I know I'm coach speaking a little bit, but, when you got somebody like Coach Claire's program coming up, 2-time Big Sky champion and representing our conference in the NCAA, it's an opportunity to play against the first-place team, and you don't make it bigger than it is, and you most certainly don't want to downplay it either. It's just an exciting time, and, we'll give our best effort. We're excited to play them. And then, obviously Saturday's another big game because we're fighting with Montana State to do, get that first-round bye, as you mentioned. But, it's just a day-to-day thing, and we have great respect for both coaches and programs. Obviously I'm relatively new to this part, but I'm well aware of the Big Sky from the several years of. Funny thing is both the head coaches recruited some of my guys out of my high school, so I'm well aware of their knowledge and their expertise in this game.
Right. Shane Burkhardt joining us, head coach of Northern Arizona. And, Coach, your point guard, Cameron Shelton, has been absolutely outstanding this year, one of the sort of most improved players in the conference. What has made him so good for you?
His work ethic. Cam is somebody who's innately motivated. He's somebody who takes himself extremely serious, whether it's in a classroom, anything that you talk about. And, he's one of those players that you have to say, Cam, hey, just work out once today, take it easy, rest your body. He's super motivated to be as good as he possibly can. And his confidence in himself is so fun to watch, and he doesn't back down to anybody. And the other part of it, too, Ryan, is he's a year older, and he's really empowered himself, and I like to think as a staff we have, too, and step up and be a leader just because of the character he carries himself with.
Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate your time. Looking forward to both these games this weekend in Flagstaff, and keep the academic progress rate rolling. You know what I mean? That's a big key, so you got to keep the APR going, and we appreciate you being with us.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and hey, we really enjoyed our time up in Montana in December, and the fan base up there is really fun to watch. I know they had a big game Saturday at Montana State, so we appreciate you thinking about us and reaching out to us and giving our thoughts for the games.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time. Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
There you go, Shane Burkhardt, head coach of the Northern Arizona men's team. I mean, Northern Arizona has been probably the biggest mystery in terms of who they are and what they are, of all the teams in the conference, because not only is it a first-year head coach, but it's a first-year head coach who's only in his second year there. And a bunch of guys, a lot of turnover on the team and so forth. Not entirely, but a significant amount. And all of a sudden you look up.
I mean, they've had turnover across the entire university at this point.
Right.
Because, Lisa Campos, who was the athletic director for a long time there, she moved on. Now Mike Marlowe, who he mentioned, who has a lot deep roots in Montana, is there. Jerome Sowers, gone after 22 years at the helm. Chris Ball's the head coach. You get rid of Jack Murphy. Lori Payne's only in her third year. So in terms of revenue sports, it's all brand new at NAU. Yeah,
no doubt. But it's certainly enjoyable to talk to him, and I thought he came across as just a very sort of genuine and kind guy, and somebody who's, he's been a high school coach basically his whole career. Right. So he is only in his second year at the college level, and I think you're seeing a guy who clearly knows basketball. Now we'll see as the cycles begin, and it's the recruiting and it's the Division I side of this stuff, if he's a guy who's able to navigate that with savvy. But like you said, look, man, we're in Arizona. We're very close to Phoenix. We're not far from Las Vegas. Like, we got a lot of things where we can go find some kids, and we don't have to go all that far to get them.
In Northern Arizona, so many coaches are going to tell you that I think that this place has a chance. This is a hidden gem. This is a sleeping giant. There's only a couple schools in the Big Sky where that's actually true, but I think it's more true at Northern Arizona than almost anywhere else besides like the rural state schools like in Montana where you're the biggest show in town, so the intrinsic advantages are just there's so many of them.
Yeah.
But NAU, I mean, there's 31,000 students at NAU right now. Flagstaff is a sweet college town. You're in Arizona, but you're not in the heat of Phoenix.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of outdoor activities. I mean, you can drive 2 hours down the hill to go to Phoenix if you want the sunshine, but you're sitting there 6,500 feet plus. You got skiing and biking and hiking, and also, I mean, I've never understood why they haven't been able to get it rolling. And they have the interesting factor where, especially in football and men's basketball, they almost always, the best players at NAU are some of the best players in the conference. They just can't seem to fill out the rest of the roster. And I don't know what has been the thing that's eluded them.
Yeah.
But you
want to know why?
Yeah, tell
Let's
me.
hear it.
It's because nobody in Arizona cares about sports other than Arizona basketball.
Yeah,
That's
right,
it.
right. That's so interesting. It's such a good point. I mean,
this is a guy who went to Arizona State, boys and girls, David Graff, or at least your girlfriend went. Did you actually attend Arizona State?
I did not.
But you spent a lot of time in Arizona going to Sun Devils events and
I've been
various
to way
things.
more sporting events,
Right.
ASU variety, than I should have gone to. Yeah.
it's a great point, David, because I mean, like the Arizona Cardinals, they're selling their season tickets for like $750.
Yeah.
Like less than $100 a ticket for the NFL. I mean, it's very interesting that there's not the fervor for sports as there are around the rest of the country.
Can I get season tickets to Rage Against the Machine, I wonder? It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Hey, it's time for a Wing It Wednesday. 329-1899. Give us a call. NFL Combine-themed questions. They're gettable. Give us a call. You want to go over to the Desperado Sports Tavern, get yourself a basket of wings. Now is your time. 329-1899. 329-1899. We'll do a little trivia, play a little game, have a little Wing It Wednesday next.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Alignment and Brakes and Shocks and Wheels and Tires. Some tire places don't offer all that, but we do to help keep you safe. It's our Les Schwab Founders Celebration. Get $50 off an alignment. That's nearly half off regular price when you purchase 4 Reputation or Open Range AT tires all month long. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters. And you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
You hear the term small business all the time, but what does it mean? The answer is, it depends. Whether you're a one-woman show or employ over 100 people, at Farmer State Bank, your business is never small to us. Find the tools for success at any Farmer State Bank location or check us out online at farmersebank.com. Farmer State Bank, helping businesses succeed since 1907. Member FDIC.
Older people look at the calendar, may think about college basketball, March Madness, various things going on in the professional world, but this is an unbelievable time of year for high school sports.
In February, the competition really ratchets up in high school sports. We're headed toward the state tournaments of both basketball and wrestling, and we'll cover it all at Tutel Nuanez, 4 to 6 p.m. every single weekday on 102.9 ESPN.
That's right, covering what matters in the state of Montana. Montana's #1 sports talk radio show, Tutel Nuanez. Coulter, gracious mercy, and thank the heavens, it is time once again for the NC2A men's basketball tournament. It is here, and you and I are back again with the Tutel Nuanez Bracket Challenge.
We hook people up all over Missoula all the time, but this will be an outstanding contest with entries from all over and your chance to win a variety of great prizes, including a $250 tab at Paradise Falls or $250 worth of equipment from Aspen Sound.
That's right. We got great prize packages for first, second, and third place. Selection Sunday is March 15th, and then you got to get your entries in between then and the start of the tournament on Thursday, the morning of the 19th. Coulter, I'm floating with anticipation and excitement, and of course, you can compare your brackets to Coulter's and mine and try and beat the dopes on the radio. Won't that be satisfying?
More than $1,000 worth of gifts we'll be giving to you, so stay tuned to Tutel Nuanez 4 to 6 p.m. each weekday for details on the ESPN Missoula Bracket Challenge, brought to you in part by Paradise Falls and Aspen Sound.
If it matters to Missoula, it matters to us. Ryan Tutel and Coulter Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
You want to get yourself some wings to the Desperado, perhaps a shirt, have yourself a very nice day. Give us a call, 329-1899, 329-1899. It is time to do a little bit of trivia. It is NFL Combine themed, but they're my questions, so they're accessible. In fact, expect to get them right and go enjoy some wings. 329-1899. It is Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. You can find us on the Twitter sphere, on the social medias, at Gus Tutel, that's me, at Skyline Sports MT, that's Coulter, and at 102.9 ESPN, that's the station, doing giveaways and so forth there. Want to remind everybody that Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast, Episode 7 with Larry Kristoviak is out now. Came out last night. David worked very hard to put that thing together. I got about the first 15 minutes of it done today in terms of listening back to it. But it's great. Anywhere you go to get your podcast, just search Grizz Greats. It's that simple, and you can give it a listen. But a great conversation. I thought really fun and funny, and you get yourself, some insight from a guy who's one of the all-timers at the University of Montana, and now one of the all-timers at Utah, too. We go down to the phones. We welcome in Jason to the show. Jason, how are you?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Jason. I appreciate you asking, inquiring as to my well-being. I'm doing excellent. My friend, here's the deal. We got 3 questions for you. If you get 2 of them right, you got yourself a basket of wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern. Do you like wings, Jason?
Oh yeah.
You know how I knew you would say yes? Because you're a human being. Okay?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the requisite for liking wings as far as I know. I mean, look, there's a lot of people that may not eat wings, but don't lie to me and say you don't like them. Of course you like them. You get all 3 of them. You got yourself a shirt as well. If you need help on any of these, Coulter is your lifeline, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Boy, some chicken wings would really hit the spot. Tommy likey. Tommy want wingy.
All right, Jason, here we go. Question number 1. The NFL Combine is going on this week in Indianapolis, okay? How many players are at the NFL Combine total participating in this to the nearest 50, okay?
Okay. I'm going to say 150.
Final answer?
I hate to use Coulter right off the bat, but I think that's pretty close.
Okay. It is.
I'm going to go with it.
350.
336.
336 specifically. That is right. 336. Don't worry. You're okay. I know you want to save Coulter. It's fine that you did. So here we go. Question number 2. Dante Olson is participating in this. University of Montana linebacker is going to be on Friday and Saturday, primarily doing his workouts. How many linebackers to the closest 10 are there participating in this NFL Combine?
All right, I'm going to definitely use Coulter on this one.
Okay.
I would have had the last one on lock for you. This one's a little bit harder. I would say there's probably between 45 and 55 linebackers in this thing, so let's just go right in the middle. Let's just say 50.
Well, 50 would be your nearest 10.
I'd say 50.
What do you think? You want to go with him on this, Jason?
Yeah, I think I'll go with it.
There are 44 linebackers.
So do we get it?
Well, you did get within 10. The closest 10 is 40.
I said 45 to 55, so that means we're like right there.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. You've been persuaded. Your lifeline also became your legal defender. You know what?
Sweet.
That's
well,
pretty good.
What Ryan doesn't know is that I'll be in law school in 3 years or less.
I'm amazed you're not right now. Online, University of Phoenix Law.
There you go.
All right, Jason, you got it. Question number 3. Here we go. You ready? Are you a Grizz fan, Jason? Do you like the Montana Grizzlies?
Absolutely.
Okay. Who was the last player from the Grizz, not to go to the Combine, but to be drafted into the NFL, to actually be drafted with a draft pick? Who was the last Grizz player to be drafted? I'll tell you no.
Was it Jordan Tripp?
It was more recent than Jordan Tripp. It was in 2016. This player won the Buck Buchanan Award. He also was a 6th-round draft pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Chase Olsen?
No.
Is that correct? No. Damn. Shoot, I have no idea. Fortunately.
Coulter, who is it?
Tyrone Holmes.
Tyrone Holmes is the correct answer.
Damn.
Now, Coulter.
Darn.
He went 1 of 3 and has sworn twice in the last 10 seconds. That's pretty good, right? We give him props for this. Jason, you give your information to David. I mean, we can't tell you no, can we, around here? I even said you were going to win him when you called in. You give your information to David there, we'll get you set up. All right, my man?
Right on. Sounds good. Thank you.
You got it. The key, as I'm finding it, is the first time that you feel like you don't know, go to Coulter Nuanez. You know, that is the key to this whole thing.
I know I let him down. I mean, kind of. I guess we inched one in there, but
you forced it.
Yeah,
you forced it. All right, it's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour 2, straight ahead. We'll do another Wing It Wednesday, and also Leon Costello, the athletic director, Montana State, the subject of our ESPN Roundtable. It's all coming up straight ahead. The Polaris New Year's sales event is on, and now is the time to find your perfect ride at Kurtz Polaris, financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months and savings of up to $3,500. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and on Highway 83 in Sealy. The mountains are full of snow, and Kurtz has all the best machines, apparel, and accessories to take full advantage of the season. Online at KurtzPolaris.com. The most fun you can have in snow, Kurtz Polaris. Winter awaits.
College basketball madness is happening again, and there's only one place in town to catch all the games, the Desperado. Catch every buzzer beater, every Cinderella story, and every upset on the Despo's 32 TVs, while getting your fill of the best hot wings Missoula has to offer, of course. Bracket busted? The Despo's got you covered there, too, with cold drinks by the pint or pitcher. The Despo is your headquarters for NCAA basketball, NHL, and NASCAR, too. The Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell, across from the Y.
Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree Podcast, Episode 7 is out now, featuring a University of Montana legend, Larry Krystkowiak. Coulter, Coach Krystkowiak had one of the great playing careers at the University of Montana and then returned to his alma mater to be the head coach for 2 seasons in 04 and 05 and 05 and 06, went to the NC2A tournament both seasons, and in his second and final season at UM, they became the last team in the Big Sky Conference to win an NC2A tournament game.
We call this the Grizz Greats, and he is one of the greatest Grizz of them all. Larry Krystkowiak, an in-state product who went to high school in Missoula, was the only 3-time MVP in the history of Montana basketball and the only player to ever score 2,000 points and grab 1,000 rebounds in his decorated career. A phenomenal career for Larry Krystkowiak that continues to this day at the University of Utah.
Just search Grizz Greats wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe and enjoy the entire series of Grizz Greats, available thanks to Blackfoot Communications, Stockman's Bar, and Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate.
Everybody knows that high school sports generate suspense, excitement, and drama.
They also generate higher grade point averages, stronger work habits, and greater self-esteem.
Everybody knows that high school sports give us more value for our entertainment dollar.
They also give us leaders committed to strengthening communities right here in Montana. The true value of playing sports in school can't be measured in wins and losses or dollars and cents. Studies show that participation in sports, along with other extracurricular activities, is one of the best ways to teach leadership, cooperation, accountability, and other invaluable life skills. Don't just stand on the sidelines. Encourage the young people you know to get in the game. When you do, you'll be helping them get ahead in life. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Montana High School Association and the Montana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Have you been hurt or disabled? Are you missing time from work and not sure what to do? I'm attorney Chris Helmer, and Clark Fork Law Offices in Missoula is here to help. Our team specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. We fight for the benefits you deserve. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
In the final home game of his illustrious career, Rollie Worcester led Hellgate to another dominating crosstown victory. Good afternoon. I'm Ryan Tutel alongside Colton Nuanez. The Utah State commit went out in style in his final game in Missoula Hellgate's gym by leading the Knights to an 86-45 victory over Missoula Big Sky. Worcester scored 27 points in a victory that keeps the top-ranked Knights undefeated. Worcester's scoring total was his fourth-best scoring output in 37 home games and his eighth most ever. The soon-to-be four-time All-State selection and the reigning Montana Gatorade Player of the Year now has 1,662 career points, the most in Hellgate High School history. The Knights also finished Worcester's home career with a 30-7 mark in their gym. That includes winning the last 21 in a row at home.
Indeed. One thing that has eluded Worcester is a state championship. The Knights are the overwhelming favorite this season in Class AA with one game remaining in the regular season. Hellgate will enter the Western AA divisional tournament with the number 1 seed. Big Sky, on the other hand, they upset Sentinel less than a week ago, and they got a team-high 13 points from Cade Olson on Tuesday night, but they remain in the bottom of the Western AA standings.
In girls basketball action, number 2 Hellgate scored a season-high 66 points and a 66-25 win over Missoula Big Sky. The Knights are now 15-2 and 11-2 in Western AA play. The Eagles are 0-17.
This ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Talk to somebody who knows what's going on.
Now from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
As soon as I said it's time and you looked at me, I was like, oh, I've jumped all over Cutler and our friends at Kurtz Polaris, haven't I? Standard. But nonetheless, it is time to speak to somebody who does know something about something. That would be, of course, neither Colter or myself. It's the ESPN Roundtable. Leon Costello, the athletic director at Montana State University, just a moment from now. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, check it out on the podcast, the Tutel and Nuanez podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. Rate it, review it, download it, listen, subscribe, all that stuff. We appreciate it. And then you have it at your disposal on your time. Very, very nice to have that little thing going on there. It's available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel and Blackfoot Communications. 329-1899 is the phone number. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. Coming up here in about 20 minutes, we'll do another Wing It Wednesday, but right now it is time for our ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls. Colter, Paradise Falls helping us out with this thing for better part of a year, in fact, a little over a year now, so we certainly appreciate them in this. And you went over to we both went over to Bozeman, but you went over a day early to get some things done. You did the show from Bozeman, from the Universal Athletic there on Friday, and you stopped by Montana State's athletic department and spoke with Leon Costello, the athletic director, about a number of different things. I thought this was a really interesting and an educational interview that you did with him, so I'm happy for folks to get to listen to this.
Kudos to Montana State for their continued superb sports information department, their continued superb open door policy. I think with public education, being transparent is very crucial, and I think that the variability of transparency across the state of Montana, across the Big Sky Conference, is vast, and those that aren't following the lead of Montana State are falling behind. And I think that there's no question in my mind why Montana State is one of, if not the thriving universities in the conference, as well as one of, if not the most thriving small universities in the Western United States. I mean, they have done an unbelievable job, and it starts from the top down. Waded Cruzado, I think, when we're old and gray, we will look back and say, who changed the face of Montana more than any other person during our primes as adults? And I think we'll look to Waded Cruzado as one of those people. I really think that what she's done at Montana State over the last 10 to 12 years has been nothing short of spectacular. And I think that's why they've overtaken Montana in almost every academic realm. And we were talking off the top about their dining halls and their dorms and all those things. I mean, she raised $400 million. That's crazy.
That is a lot.
They have such momentum right now in terms of fundraising that she just did a Give Big Day on campus where people could just check the athletics box if they wanted to. And they ended up raising over $300,000 in one day, including over $30,000 that the athletic department gets to keep just because people said, okay, I'll put a little extra in the envelope and give it to sports. It's interesting to watch the way that they've gone about things, but I appreciate Leon Costello. When he first got hired, it was under tenuous circumstances because they hired Kyle Brennan from the University of Utah, and Kyle Brennan came to Bozeman, and he was on the job for a little over a week, and then he said, I can't do it. And he made up a bunch of excuses that a lot of people didn't like to hear. And he went back to his post at the University of Utah. And so they scrambled and they hired their second choice. And, you know, what an exciting moment for a guy that is then dissipated a little bit because of everyone knows you're the second choice. And that's tough for a guy like Leon, who's such a nice guy. But I think he's doing a great job. I think that the culture that they're building, I told you this after I left the interview, I often struggle with people that aren't just hard, edgy,
matter of fact,
and I don't really know how I'm not really familiar with, just because of the way I grew up, leadership styles that are anything but just direct and based on toughness and just bowling people over and just, you know, get what you want and take it and all that sort of stuff. But the family culture, the friendliness, the love each other atmosphere that they have at Montana State Athletics right now, it's pretty interesting to watch. And I think it's what new age college athletics is becoming. And I think that Leon Costello deserves a ton of credit for it. But appreciate him for having an open door, letting me drop in. I mean, I called the day before and said, is there any way Leon has 20 minutes? And he said, sure, come on by. So I appreciate him for being open, but this is an interesting conversation.
And just one correction there, later in life, you will be old and gray. I will be old and bald. Okay? So that's the way that's going to go. I can feel it coming. Boys and girls, our ESPN Roundtable, thanks to Paradise Falls, with the athletic director at Montana State University, Leon Costello.
A week or two ago, Eastern Washington came out with the faculty report saying we should cut athletics or maybe we should drop down. And one of the things they said was they didn't think that there was any enrichment happening on the campus through athletics. And now Northern Colorado today said something similar, how maybe they want to cut football. But we dove into the numbers and just the subsidies that teams get from, or the athletic departments get from the school. And I mean, Montana State and Montana are the only two that get less than half the money from the institution. And then we were comparing it to numbers from, you know, Nevada, Fresno State, Utah State. You guys are still getting on, you know, you're on par with those schools even, which is amazing, impressive. But it seems to me, if you look around the Big Sky Conference, this community, this campus has had a more positive relationship between academics and athletics, and I think everybody kind of sees the benefit of the full circle, right? So, I mean, how much do you think, what role do you hope athletics plays on this campus?
Well, one is we have to take care of our business on campus. Right. And that's, I just talked about academics. Yeah. We've got to make sure that our student athletes are doing what they need to do academically. That enriches our relationships and our conversations with faculty members, with deans, with vice presidents. We need to make sure that we do things the right way. If we're going to miss class, we need to make sure that our student athletes are having conversations ahead of time with faculty members to let them know, hey, look, we're going on a trip and I'm going to miss class. Here's my missed class sheet. doing those things on the front side instead of waiting until after it happens, and the old adage of asking for forgiveness later.
Right.
That we want to make sure we do everything on the front side, and so we have those positive relationships on campus. And then when you tie together the academics along with the community service hours that we do every year, but also with the athletic successes, it's an unbelievable story. And I think this campus does a great job under the leadership of President Cruzado of using athletics as the front porch, but using our events as an engagement tool for others. And so bring, if you're a college on campus, bring somebody to a football game and do business. Whether you're fundraising or you're engaging or you're just trying to connect, our events are a great connection tool for that. And I think the relationships that we have from myself and all of our staff members on campus are really strong. Yeah. And I think, but it starts with our coaches recruiting great student athletes that do great in the classroom, but they put an emphasis on academics, and that's where it all starts.
And it's so interesting too, because I think Montana State does this as well or better than anybody in the league too. Is that the kids seem like not only are they high academic achievers, but they're just leaders in the sectors of the student population too. And when I hear the school say that they don't think the athletes enrich it, I mean, even at schools that don't have the same academic prestige, it seems as if the kids are enriching the campus community just because of the level of maturity you have to be a Division I athlete. And it seems like here that's happening better than anywhere else.
I think so. I think if you look across the board from our sports teams and what our student athletes are engaging in outside of their sport, exactly right. I think they're in leadership positions. They're naturally set up to be leaders because this is what they've done their entire lives. Is they've been in athletics. They've been doing, they've been in junior high, high school, college, doing these types of things, and they've put themselves in a position to manage their time in order to be able to get these things accomplished. And a lot of times they have it down to a science, and that helps them more than anything. But again, I think it goes back to our coaches recruiting student athletes that have played a lot of different sports, that have won at a lot of different levels, that they have set themselves up to be successful, which enables them to maybe step into those roles.
Big announcement over homecoming. You guys are breaking ground soon, I'm assuming.
Soon, yeah.
So you've achieved the first goal of this gigantic fundraising, project that you guys have. But when you're the athletic director, football is obviously the main revenue maker at Montana State. This year was a tremendous year for Montana State, going all the way to the semifinals. But when you're trying to weigh the whole athletic department, how do you keep everybody happy? It's impossible to keep everybody happy all the time, but when you're deciding what's going to be next, how does that process work?
You engage all the coaches in the programs, and that's how we started this that's why we started this with Phase 1, because of the direct benefit and impact it would have to all of our programs by creating more space in the field house, getting more better access times in the weight room and training rooms and places, support areas for student athletes. But I think the same for the next one is going to be the same thing. Is, hey, we're going to sit down as we have separate head coaches meetings where they meet with our leadership team as a staff, and we'll talk about these things, and then we'll meet with them individually and say, what are, now that we have this completed, what are the next steps? What do you need now, knowing we have this coming, to be successful? And then we'll lay it out and make the best decision that we can make with the information that the coaches and student athletes and the programs give us. And that's the way it works, because we need everybody to buy in. We're not Ohio State and we're not Michigan where we can just throw tens of millions of dollars at these things. We need everybody to buy in, and everybody then becomes a fundraiser, because when Daniel Jones or Danny Sprinkle or Tricia Binford or Lyle Weiss is out in the community and they're talking about the Bobcat Athletic Complex and how good it's going to be for our program and their program specifically, that's a powerful message. And that needs to continue on down the line with any capital campaign we're going to do, or even any fundraising campaign we're going to do. It has to have an impact on the individual programs.
What's the future for football, just in terms of keeping up in the arms race that is the Big Sky Conference now?
I think it's we just have to make sure that we keep an eye on what's going on with the college landscape. And you know better than anybody that it seems like every day we wake up and something's changing. Now, we have to let the dust settle on a lot of these things, but we have to I think it goes for football, but I think it goes for all of our other programs, is we have to see ourselves in whatever legislation comes about, and we have to set ourselves up to be successful. And when we're successful, we don't have to really worry about other things. And so how can we use these things that are going to be coming down the road as far as legislation? How can we insert ourselves to set ourselves up and our programs up to be more successful? And I think that's what we have to do these days, is we just have to make sure that we do our research and we do our homework on how it's going to affect us, and then make sure that the effect is a positive benefit for us.
Jeff Choate, very good at planting the seed at some of the things that he wants to push the agenda on, and he talked a lot about cost of attendance, and then all of a sudden that became a storyline. So I think that people misunderstand some of the cost of attendance stuff, though. First of all, the one thing that I think people don't understand is that you have to have it for every student athlete, right?
No,
you don't. You can just have it for football.
Well, it has to be. So it's a financial aid allotment. So cost of attendance is a financial aid number, and so for us, since it's financial aid, if you look at a scholarship, there's 5 components to a scholarship. There's tuition, fees, room, and board and books, right? Cost of attendance, if you look on any university website of financial aid, you'll see the number per school. And it varies per school where you're at. Right.
Because it has to do with the cost of living in the community and things like that,
correct, right? Yeah. So we have to make sure Title IX wise that we are compliant with Title IX wise, and it has to be the allocation that we give to whether it's male student athletes or female student athletes has to match the percentage of scholarships we're giving out to those sports.
Interesting.
And that percentage is based on, if you want to meet prong 1, is based on what is the percentages of enrollment male to female. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we've always complied prong 1, and that's how we're setting that up for cost of attendance. So yeah, it doesn't have to be equal. It has to be equal to the percentages of how you divvy out your scholarships based on your enrollment numbers.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So how much theoretically money would it take for you guys to implement it?
Well, if we wanted to do the entire gamut, so we have roughly 200 or so full scholarships of the 350 or 360, 70 student athletes we have.
Right.
It would probably, we did it just over $800,000, between $800,000 and $900,000 to do it. The interesting thing about cost of attendance, though, is that our number is just shy of $3,800. It's like $3,793 or something like that. Yeah. You don't have to give all of that. So you can give $1. You can give $50. So when you're talking about each student athlete, let's talk about maybe a basketball team, for instance, because it's easier. So women's basketball, you have 15 scholarship student athletes.
Full scholarships, right?
Yeah, and so they're getting full scholarships. So if we could say you could get $1, you could get $1,000, you could get $37.93.
Right.
So you don't have to give the full. You can give a percentage. So it's an allotment basically.
Do you think it's something important?
I think it is. I think when you look at recruiting and you look at where we are located and who we are recruiting against, I think a lot of coaches will tell you that we're recruiting against the Big Sky Conference, we're recruiting against the Mountain West, we're recruiting against the Pac-12, we're recruiting against the West Coast Conference, all those conferences, and there is a lot of them that are doing some sort of cost of attendance. Now, for us, we have put a lot of our growth into our support areas. So we hired a registered dietitian. We have fueling stations. We have sports psychologists. We have our healthcare. If you go into our training room right now, we've got physical therapists and sports medicine trained practitioners, and we've got physician's assistants. Taking care of our student athletes. So the care is unbelievable. We hired academic personnel, we've hired strength and conditioning, so the support is there. And I think cost of attendance is another check mark saying, yes, we offer this. We offer all of this, but yes, we offer this. It's just something now that gets brought up in recruiting, and we can say, yeah, we offer it. We offer a form of cost of attendance, and that goes a long ways in recruiting against and trying to get, as we like to say, the best and the brightest, here to Montana State. If we want to be in that game, then we have to be able to offer at least some form of it, and now we're going to be able to.
We're in the middle of doing a big series on all the football recruits. Every single one of those kids that had high major offers, they said, well, once I got to Bozeman, I realized that this is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And so Choate has mentioned multiple times, he says, I think we're a facility or two away and maybe a cost of attendance away from being pretty much impossible to beat.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I do. I do. And to be honest, it's one of the reasons I'm here.
Right.
I remember the first time I walked on campus, and I was with South Dakota State, and blown away, by the playoff game, by the atmosphere, by the community, and it's only grown, since then. I think a lot of recruiting comes down to fit. And when I meet with football, and actually all the sports do a great job of bringing student athletes into my office, and I get to meet them and their parents. And the one thing I always tell them is fit. Like, you have to ask the questions that are going to basically make the decision for you that this is a fit for me. I'm going to be able to accomplish all my goals academically. I'm going to be able to accomplish my goals athletically, and I'm going to enjoy being here. Fit is an important thing, and I think when people come to Bozeman and they come on our campus, they're blown away with the people that they meet. They meet with professors and deans and other coaches and staff and administrators and other teammates, and I think they're just blown away about kind of the atmosphere that we have on this campus and in our community and throughout the state. It's pretty amazing. And then you get them to an event, and then whether a football recruit's coming to a basketball game, or a basketball player is going to a football game, or whatever it is, they are just blown away by the support that our fans give us.
Last question for you then. Just the rest of this academic year, what's your primary objectives for the athletic department?
Win.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it is. I mean, we are in the midst of, competition season, with our winter sports in the second half of the Big Sky Conference play, and obviously setting ourselves up seeding-wise in the tournament to advance into postseason is huge. Winning conference championships for us has always been a marker that we want to attain. And being in position to win conference championships, we're hosting the NCAA skiing championships coming up here in a couple of weeks. We have the regionals and then the ski championships, and then finishing out the spring strong. We've got an unbelievable indoor track and field season going, which will then lead right into outdoor and tennis and golf and all the sports that make up who we are. I've told all of our coaches and anybody that'll listen is that I want to be the best athletic program and athletic department in the Big Sky and in this region, in the country if we can be, right? And that means supporting all of our programs in a way so they can be successful. Now, that doesn't mean equal, but supporting them in a way to put them in a position to be successful individually. And, we talked a lot about this year, the mantra was take the next step. We've seen a lot of programs do that. Obviously, football has done that. Volleyball has done that. Women's basketball is in the middle of doing that. I even think men's basketball is showing a lot of those signs as well. Indoor track and field. I mean, we're going to compete for 2 conference titles here next weekend, and then the other spring sports are doing the same thing. So I'm excited about people are. You don't have to be mean to be competitive. Our coaches and our Bobcat family, they're competitive and they support one another in a way that is pretty amazing. And so I love getting up and coming to work every day and working on behalf of our student athletes and our coaches to find ways to put them kind of above the fray and put them in positions to be successful. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. We're not there yet. We got to continue to make strides.
Leon Costello, the athletic director at Montana State University. Appreciate, again, him taking the time to sit down with Coulter. And there's your ESPN Roundtable. It'll re-air tomorrow. ESPN Roundtable is a collaboration between 102.9 ESPN Radio and SkylineSportsMT.com. You can hear that at noon tomorrow here on ESPN Radio. And it is presented by Paradise Falls.
Paradise Falls is going to be the proud presenting sponsor of our Bracket Challenge, which we will launch this next upcoming week.
Yep.
But we got all sorts of great prizes for you, including winning up to $400 worth of free Paradise Falls, whatever you might want. $250 grand prize from Paradise Falls. In second place, $150 at Paradise Falls. Third place, $100 at Paradise Falls. But head into Paradise Falls before March Madness begins.
That is 500 total.
This is is it?
Yes.
I'm great at math.
It's okay. I just don't want to short the total here. Hooking the people up.
I went into journalism for one reason. Because I didn't have to take a math class. I have not taken a math class since I was 16 years old. I passed the AP stats test when I was a junior in high school. Never took math again.
That's it.
There's no question I could not pass 4th grade math right now.
Oh, man.
But I can't count the TVs at Paradise Falls. There's 30 of them.
I won't ask you to do this math. If you win the $250 grand prize of the bracket challenge to Paradise Falls, and then you take that $250 and go to the late happy hour at Paradise Falls, where you have $3 beers and half-price appetizers, how wonderful a night could you have? The answer is very.
Very wonderful.
Yeah.
You could actually probably have about 5 wonderful nights.
You could, or you could take just a nice group of people and actually enjoy yourself.
That's right. Anyhow, go down to Paradise Falls. They got 30 big screen TVs. If you want to get prepped for the tournament, it's a place to go because you can watch all sorts of games at all sorts of angles. They got everything from the Big Sky all the way up to the Big 12. 18 draft beers. They're always updating their menu. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. One of the great spots on the south side of Missoula, Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
Quick break. Time for another Wing It Wednesday. Colter's got the questions for you. 329-1899. 329-1899. Call right now. Get yourself some trivia. Go down to the Desperado. Enjoy some wings. 329-1899. Trivia questions with you. Next.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Alignment and Brakes and Shocks and Wheels and Tires. Some tire places don't offer all that, but we do to help keep you safe. It's our Les Schwab Founders Celebration. Get $50 off an alignment. That's nearly half off regular price when you purchase 4 Reputation or Open Range AT tires all month long. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
Have you been in an accident and have no idea what to do? I'm here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys.
Unfortunately, people are injured in accidents every day, and dealing with the insurance company can add even more pain to an already bad situation. That is where hiring the advocates can help. Let us guide you through the process and take on the hassles for you so you can just focus on getting better.
If you've been injured in an accident, give the Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. The Advocates are on your side. Hey, guys, you ever heard of Magic Johnson?
Rings a bell.
One of the greatest basketball superstars of all time played for a man named Judd Heathcote at Michigan State. And guess what? Judd Heathcote started his career at the University of Montana.
Coulter, did you know that 2 former University of Montana head coaches have been head coaches in the NBA and 1 on Team USA?
Isn't that amazing?
And that's why we've created Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast. Just search Grizz Greats.
It's a phenomenal and historic podcast series proudly presented by Blackfoot Communications and Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate.
Coulter, people look at the calendar, may think about college basketball, March Madness, various things going on in the professional world, but this is an unbelievable time of year for high school sports.
In February, the competition really ratchets up in high school sports. We're headed toward the state tournaments of both basketball and wrestling, and we'll cover it all at Tutel Nuanez, 4 to 6 p.m. every single weekday on 102.9 ESPN.
That's right, covering what matters in the state of Montana. Montana's #1 sports talk radio show, Tutel Nuanez. Hey guys, Ryan Tutel and Colton Nuanez from Tutel and Nuanez. Hey, we're not just here for your entertainment, we're also a bastion of knowledge and information as well.
If you want to know what's going on in the world of youth sports, from sign-ups to camps and other activities, tune into Tutel Nuanez on Tuesday.
That's right, interviews and information with people who know to make sure that your kids get all the best in sports that Missoula has to offer this Tuesday on Tutel and Nuanez.
The youth sports segment is brought to you by Pepsi Cola of Missoula, proudly supporting youth athletics in the Garden City.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good evening, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. In the final home game of his illustrious career, Raleigh Wooster led Hellgate to another dominating crosstown victory. The Utah State basketball commit went out in style in his final game at the Missoula Hellgate Gym by leading the Knights to an 86-45 victory over Missoula Big Sky. Wooster scored 27 points in a victory that keeps the top-ranked Knights undefeated. His scoring total was the 4th best scoring output in 37 home games and his 8th best ever. The soon-to-be four-time All-State selection and reigning Montana Gatorade Player of the Year now has 1,662 career points, and which is the most in Hellgate High School history. The Knights finished Worcester's home career with a 30-7 mark, as well as 21 straight in the Hellgate gym.
One thing that's eluded Worcester is a state championship. The Knights are the overwhelming favorites in Class AA this season, with one game remaining in the regular season. Hellgate will enter the Western AA Divisional Tournament with the number 1 seed. Big Sky, who upset number 3 Sentinel less than a week ago, they got 13 points from Cade Olson in the loss to Hellgate Tuesday night, but they still remain in last place in Western AA.
In girls basketball, the number 2 Hellgate Knights scored a season-high 66 points and a 66-25 win over Big Sky Tuesday. That win moves the Knights to 15-2 on the year, and they are 11-2 in Western AA play. Heading into Thursday's regular season finale at Sentinel, Big Sky fell to 0-17.
Buffalo soldier, dread like a rasta. It was a buffalo soldier in the heart of America, stolen from Africa, brought to America.
Let's do a little Wing It Wednesday, have a little trivia, shall we? It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Hi, how are you? Great to be with you out there in the wider visual world. Mildenberger Motors in Hamilton, serving Western Montana for over 60 years. Get in, test drive a Duramax GMC or Chevy, feel the difference, and get the best deal at Mildenberger Motors. We go down to the phones for a Wing It Wednesday. We welcome Jeremy into the show. Hi, Jeremy. How you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me, boys.
Absolutely, Jeremy. Happy to have you in here. Here's the deal, my friend. You got yourself 3 questions to answer. If you get 2 of them right, you're going down to the Desperado Sports Tavern for wings and whatever else you want. If you get all 3, you got yourself a shirt as well. These are Coulter's questions today on this round here, so I am your lifeline if you need help on one of them, all right?
Boy, some chicken wings would really hit the spot. Tummy likey. Tummy want wingy.
All right, Jeremy. Now, Jeremy, are you in Western Montana in Missoula? Where are you at here?
I am. So I don't know if this is a first for your program here, but I am actually inside the Desperado right now. How do you like
wow!
that?
How about this? Calling for wings.
If I didn't have plans later, if you win these, I'd bring it down to you, but I got to be home right after the show.
See, I mean, maybe you put it on speakerphone there, and if you get the wings, you just go, hey, cash them in now. I'll bring you the coupon later, right? Well, that's I don't know if it is a first, but that's fantastic, and I guess that's all we need to know. I mean, you're calling from the place, for God's sakes. All right, so here we go, Coulter. This is pressure now with Jeremy on location. All right, here we go. Question number 1.
All right, Jeremy. What player ran the fastest 40-yard dash in the history of the NFL Scouting Combine?
Whoa. Combine is definitely not my area of expertise.
Bummer. That's what all of these are about.
We'll work through it here. We'll work through it.
The one thing I will tell you this, I know that Ryan knows the answer to this.
Well, fair enough. Ooh, lifeline right off the bat.
Hey.
I mean, you always got to remember, there's only 3 questions. You only got to get 2 right to get the wings. So if you don't know the answer, I always say it's best to use your lifeline because you get yourself halfway home.
I mean, you're right. I mean, the name I'm thinking is, Tyreek, of course, but I just don't know. So I'll do the lifeline.
I believe the fastest 40 in combine history was done by John Ross of the Washington Huskies, now Cincinnati Bengals, 2 years ago, 4.22 on the line.
That is correct, John Ross, 4.22.
Wait, you didn't give him a chance to decide if he wanted the answer or not. He could always reject it and go with Tyreek Hill.
Well, it's the first time you've ever got one right, so I'm trying to make you feel better about yourself.
By the way, did Tyreek Hill go to the Combine? I don't think he did. I think he just did a pro day at UAB. Not right?
Is that where he's from, UAB?
I think he ended up at University Alabama Birmingham. Look at that. Tyreek Hill is not high on my list of people to like for a long
West Alabama is where he went to
Western Alabama, not Alabama Birmingham. But anyway, I don't think he ended up going to the Combine.
He did not participate in the Combine. He ran 4.28 and 4.29 on his pro day.
I mean, Did you not hear the gun go off? Like, what happened? All right. Question number 2, one in the books for you there, Jeremy. Here we go.
All right. I thought that was the layup.
This is so classically Coulter. Just so classic.
Well, okay.
Just go ahead. Just ask. Let's see what happens. Just go ahead.
Which city was home to the first NFL Scouting Combine in 1984? It's been in Indianapolis for the last 34 years, but the first 2 were in this southern city. Very jazzy place.
Let's go New Orleans.
Bam! Look at
that. Now, I will say it's a good thing you said, because I understand as a matter of fact, as it pertains to lines of latitude in the country that is the United States, that New Orleans is in the South. But when you say a southern city, it's not a member of the South as a region to me. I mean, Louisiana? It's on the border now.
I don't know.
I don't know about that. I don't know about Jeremy. Excellent work.
Louisiana is as southern as it gets.
That's what I'm saying. Is Brian off on this, David?
No.
Louisiana's in the South, right?
David,
Louisiana is very southern.
I mean, South Carolina is southern.
Shreveport,
Georgia is
Bossier
southern.
City, New Orleans.
I mean, Cajun,
shout out
southern.
Opelousas.
It's. I mean, I know the towns, but reciting to me the towns is not like evidence that it's a member of the region known as the South. I suppose it is, but
the
it's.
South
I mean, it's
is broadly defined as Arkansas, Tennessee, and lower.
Now, if you got some geography questions,
that's where we got it. Well, you tell me. Do you think that New Orleans is part of the South, Jeremy?
I mean, it's the southernmost part of the country, right? I mean,
okay. I mean,
on the Gulf of Mexico. Or?
I mean, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's practically
what states
in the
would
Gulf.
You say are the South?
Well, the Carolinas, Georgia, probably Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, and then sort of Tennessee-ish. I don't really include Arkansas a little bit, but I don't really include Arkansas, Missouri, Louisiana. I don't really include them in the quote South.
Missouri is definitely not the South.
Definitely not.
Definitely
That's a
not.
Hard no.
Hard no.
Okay.
Hard no.
I just said no, though. That's what I said.
I'm just saying that's a point of contention for myself.
Oh, now
let's let Jeremy win some wings, and we'll circle back.
He already won the wings. They're in the bag.
That's right. Okay, they're in the bag.
Tell whoever's there behind the bar, Jeremy, that you're order them up. Hot teriyaki, man. That's what I'm telling you.
No, I'm with you on hot teriyaki, but I'm going to tell you guys now, full disclosure, they got some combine stuff on one of the TVs here, so let's get that shirt.
Okay.
He's watching as we speak. Okay.
How are you with Grizz football? This is a Grizz football combine question.
Ooh, mediocre.
Okay.
I've been in Missoula my whole life, so hopefully see what we got here.
Name this Grizz sophomore defensive end whose father, Mike, was one of the great combine freaks of all time back at the 1995 NFL Combine. Name this Grizz sophomore defensive end. Where's number 59?
Current Grizz.
Oh, man. Shoot. I should know this. Darn it. Oh. Darn it. I am drawing a blank on that.
Well, it doesn't matter. You already got the wings. You already got the wings. That's the key to the whole thing. Coulter, tell him who.
Mike Mamula's son, Milton Mamula, currently plays for the University of Montana football team.
Milton Mamula.
Oh, yeah.
Milton Mamula.
I mean, listen, it's nice to have some of the genetics. You know what I mean? Mike Mamula shredded the combine and what was he? Like a second-round pick, Mike Mamula? First-round pick.
Mike Mamula's number 7 overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, that's pretty
good.
Mike
Mamula's combine. He came out of Boston College, and he was a productive player at Boston College. But this was one of the first guys that went to the combine, and
everybody like, well, what happened here?
Everybody was like, we got to draft this guy. So at the combine, Mike Mamula was 6'4.5", 248 pounds. He ran a 4.5 840. 4.03 in the short shuttle, which was the all-time record for linebackers until Jordan Tripp of the University of Montana broke it. 38.5-inch vertical.
Did you say 40 or 703?
4.03.
On the short
not in the three cone.
Okay.
In the short shuttle.
Gotcha.
38.5-inch vertical, 10'5" broad jump. 10'5"
What
broad
year
jump.
was this?
1995.
Amazing.
And he did 26 reps, and the kicker, 49 on the Wonderlic test. Almost perfect.
Really? Wow. Well, shout out Boston College.
And so
getting them
performance got him drafted number 7 overall by the Philadelphia Eagles, where he played, I think, 3, maybe even 4 seasons alongside Tim Houck. So then Tim Houck was friends with Mike Mamula and then consequently Milton Mamula. Bobby Houck was recruiting Milton Mamula when he was at San Diego State. Milton Mamula was weighing offers at the time from Michigan, Rutgers, and other Big Ten schools. And then he blew out his knee.
Yeah.
And he found his way to the University of Montana. And this last year, I thought he had shoulder surgery his first year here in Missoula.
Yeah.
So he's had multiple back-to-back injuries, but I thought that the little 6 to 8 game stretch where he was healthy, kid's got juice, man. He is going to be an absolutely special player if he can stay healthy, but he got hurt again at the end of the year, so I don't know his status. But you hope that he can get back to it because, to me, just in terms of his physical gifts, he has physical gifts like some of the great DNs that Montana's had in the past.
Jeremy, congratulations. I don't know if even Jeremy's still with us here. We didn't really bid him adieu properly, but he did an excellent job. He's right there on the spot, and he will enjoy a second visit or perhaps a second 100th visit to the Desperado Sports Tavern, undoubtedly. So thanks for him for being here. Boys and girls, Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Coming up, wrap up the show. The district tournaments are coming up. The end of the regular season here is rolling. We'll get you set for some high school hoops as we round out the regular season and get into the postseason across the state of Montana right after this.
At Opportunity Bank of Montana, we know that checking accounts are not one size fits all. Let us introduce you to Opportunity Bank's full suite of checking account products, including personal and business options with no minimum balance and no monthly service fee. Or if earning cash back suits you, Opportunity Reward Checking may be the perfect fit. Need to earn interest? We have those options too. Call or come into Opportunity Bank for a checking account that fits you. Opportunity Bank of Montana, serving Montanans since 1922. Member FDIC.
Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process, so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
Seafood lovers, it's time to get cracking at the Montana Club's annual Lobster Fest. Feast on one of our 19 mouth-watering lobster dishes, live Maine lobster, succulent lobster tail, and tantalizing one-of-a-kind lobster specialties. 3 big days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, March 5th through the 7th. It only happens once a year. Don't miss it. See the menu at montanaclub.com. The Montana Club's Lobster Fest on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Older people look at the calendar, may think about college basketball, March Madness, various things going on in the professional world, but this is an unbelievable time of year for high school sports.
In February, the competition really ratchets up in high school sports. We're headed toward the state tournaments of both basketball and wrestling, and we'll cover it all at Tutel Nuanez, 4 to 6 p.m. every single weekday on 102.9 ESPN.
That's right, covering what matters in the state of Montana. Montana's #1 sports talk radio show, Tutel Nuanez. Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree Podcast, Episode 7 is out now, featuring a University of Montana legend, Larry Krystowiak. Coulter, Coach Krystowiak had one of the great playing careers at the University of Montana and then returned to his alma mater to be the head coach for 2 seasons in 04 and 05 and 05 and 06. Went to the NC2A tournament both seasons, and in his second and final season at UM, they became the last team in the Big Sky Conference to win an NC2A tournament game.
We call this the Grizz Greats, and he is one of the greatest Grizz of them all. Larry Krystowiak, an in-state product who went to high school in Missoula, was the only 3-time MVP in the history of Montana basketball and the only player to ever score 2,000 points and grab 1,000 rebounds in his decorated career. A phenomenal career for Larry Krystowiak that continues to this day at the University of Utah.
Just search Grizz Greats wherever you get your podcasts. subscribe, and enjoy the entire series of Grizz Greats, available thanks to Blackfoot Communications, Stockman's Bar, and Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Divisional tournaments have just begun in some cases today. Mostly they get rolling tomorrow, but we're going to get you set up for all of them, or at least many of them, right now. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, across the great state. We appreciate you being here. We are happy to be on board with all of you. We are also happy to be on the World Wide Web. You heard of that thing? You can stream us, 1029ESPN.com. Thanks to and you can also, by the way, just get us on the podcast. The podcast available anytime you would like to listen to it. Just search Tutel Nuanez. Check that thing out. It's available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel and Blackfoot Communications. And again, episode 7 of Grizz Greats, the coaching tree, out right now. Search Grizz Greats and go listen to that with Larry Gristoviak. It is time now, Coulter, for our Prep Extra segment. It is brought to us by the Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank giving away $10,000 scholarships to high school seniors across the state of Montana, across western Montana. Go to farmersebank.com to find out more. And the Eastern A boys and girls tournaments have divisional basketball tournaments have a couple of games that have already begun and gone final. First of all, Laurel beat Sidney 60-41 in a playoff game. So Laurel will take on Miles City tomorrow, while Billings Central will play Lewistown. This is on the boys' side. But also, Hardin and Glendive, they played. Hardin had their way, 72-34. And Livingston, they get by Havre 54-47. So it's Livingston and Havre in the semifinal game. The other semifinal will be decided tomorrow in the boys' side of things.
Hardin's the overwhelming favorite in Class A, so that'll be interesting to see if they can keep it rolling, because sometimes this time of year being the overwhelming favorite with these extra district tournaments that we weren't used to having can be a way to not necessarily derail your state tournament dreams, but maybe you lose a game you shouldn't because you're looking ahead of the state tournament. But Famous Left Hand and Hardin, they are gunning for their second state championship in 3 years. They lost in the state championship game a year ago, so a chance for redemption and for one of the great players in the state and Famous Left Hand to go out on top.
On the girls' side of Eastern A, Livingston 63-27 win over Miles City in a play-in game, so they will play Havre tomorrow. Billings Central and Sidney will play tomorrow. The girls just tipping off in the other quarterfinals. Hardin and Lewistown just starting right now, and then later on this evening, Glendive and Laurel. So that is the eastern side of the bracket as it comes to the Class A. On the western side, this is interesting. They're not starting today. They're starting all tomorrow. So the matchups on the western side of the state Class A for boys, Polson versus Frenchtown, Ronan versus Butte Central, Hamilton, Whitefish, and Dillon versus Browning. Coulter, do you have a team or two that you like in the Class A on the western side of the thing for the boys basketball?
I think that's going to be a little bit more of an even tournament, certainly. Not necessarily the powers that have been Hardin and Billings Central. So I think it'll be a little bit more even out west.
Columbia Falls and Corvallis on the girls' side of Western A will play each other. Whitefish, Dillon, Hamilton, Ronan, and Frenchtown and Browning as well on the girls' side tomorrow. So there you go. There's the setup as far as the Class A goes across the state. Getting down to it, interesting that the Eastern A has a play-in game. They basically have 9 teams that have sort of gotten in. Right. Or and I don't know if it was just ties or whatever, but both the case for the boys and girls, whereas on the western side of the state, not so. And then Coulter, when it comes to Double-A, there's one regular season game left, and then they will get in to their postseason as well. But things still need to get sorted out. But obviously, on the boys' side, it's Hellgate. Sentinel is still there, although Sentinel just took a bad loss to the Big Sky boys. I mean, that's a surprising result. Sentinel had been number 2 in the state. They lost to Hellgate a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and then fall to Big Sky. They're still certainly one of the better teams by record in the state, but Hellgate, the certainly odds-on favorite going into the postseason.
No doubt. And there's been a lot of debate over Hellgate because there's a debate raging online as well as just around the state of Montana, just, water cooler talk. I've heard some people say that they think this Hellgate team is one of the greatest in the history of the state of Montana. I think this Hellgate team is great. I think they might be among the greatest in terms of compared to their peers. But I've watched them play live twice this year, and I think that they're very, very good. But I would love to see them play against some of the great teams, even just that have come out of Missoula over the last 20 years or 25 years, let alone some of the great teams in state history. It's just really hard to say. I think that they are absolutely the cream of the crop in Class AA this year. I mean, they're beating teams by 35 and 40 points.
Right.
Most of the time, Riley Wooster, Cam Lawrence, and Abe Johnson do not play in the fourth quarter. They have 7 seniors. But I also think there's a lot of different factors that go into it. I think the open enrollment, I think the fact that these guys have played together for a long time and they've been building multiple different portions of the sports culture at Hellgate. And I think that Riley Wooster is a great talent, certainly. But, there's this weird misperception that in Montana that there stopped being elite talent in boys basketball 20 years ago, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
There's been all sorts of elite talent. Guys that have gone and played at Stanford like Josh Eustace and Oregon State like Jack McGillis and all over the Big Sky. Jordan Haskett from Missoula Sentinel who went to the Grizz. Eric Hankel from Sentinel who went to Eastern Washington. There's been a ton of D1 guys. And so I love the embracing the moment of now, and I think Riley Wooster is a phenomenal player, and I think that he'll have great success at Utah State. But I pumped the brakes a little bit. I said in one of the online forums that there's this argument going on. I said, I think this Hellgate team is great, but I don't even know if they're the best Hellgate team of all time.
Do they argue online? I mean, seems dumb.
Yeah, right.
Hey, one thing, too, we're going to spend time with Class B and C when they get into the state formats of the tournaments. Yeah. But I think it's worth noting in Class C, so that in A and AA, there's East and West, but there's a third in Class C, which is Northern. So you have 3 different divisional tournaments, all with 8 teams. But right now, so there's more teams that are separated by greater distances in the smaller schools. Okay?
Well, you also have the district tournaments at the B and C levels as well. Those played out last weekend.
Right. So, I mean, you're talking about a ton of teams playing just to get to this point. But in Class C right now, there are 6 boys teams and 8 girls teams in the state that right now, as we're already in the postseason, are still either undefeated or have only 1 loss. I mean, there are some powerhouses in Class C, and when we get to the Final 8, I think reasonably expect most of those teams, not necessarily 8 for 8 on the girls' side, but 6, 7 of 8 for sure, going to be in that state tournament, and it is going to be fantastic, man. Because in Class A, even in Class AA, certainly, it's a lot more. You're playing a lot more teams than you match up with again in the state tournament. For many of the Class C, Class B matchups, it's the first time you ever see a team, and the only time is in a win or go home scenario in a state type of setting. So it's a lot of fun at that level for sure.
Few notes on the small schools. Manhattan Christian will have a chance, at least moving into the divisional tournament, to defend their Class C championship on the boys' side. One thing that we haven't mentioned is that R. Lee moved up to Class B this year. They lost to Missoula Loyola in the 3rd place game of the District 6B tournament this last weekend. So R. Lee will not be playing in the state tournament this year. Unfortunate for the Warriors after their phenomenal run through Class C the last several years. Yep. But Manhattan Christian, even despite the loss of Caleb Belich, who now plays for Montana State, they're still in the mix in Class C, having won the District 11C district tournament. Missoula Loyola did win that 3rd place game, so they'll move on to divisionals in Class B as well. And probably the favorite on the boys' side in Class B is probably one of the 2 favorites is Lodgegrass. They have been phenomenal this year, scoring a ton of points. They scored 82 in the District 3B championship game, but they've had some battles with Hardin where you had almost close to 200 points scored in each of those games, and Hardin won both those games running away with it. But like I told you off the air, I would have loved to watch those games on TV because
Absolutely.
you talk about
filling it up. Some
up-tempo hoops getting played by a couple of those squads.
This ain't just 3-3. I mean, this is hoop to hoop playing in this game. Very good. That is our Prep Extra segment. Plenty more coming both this week and next as we get into a great time of year, the divisional state tournaments of basketball around the state. It's presented by the Farmers State Bank. It's Farmers State Bank 2020 scholarship applications available right now. $10,000 scholarships going to be awarded to qualifying seniors in Western Montana this year alone. Details, application available online at farmersebank.com. So go check those out. What do you think, Coulter? Do we just ride out, or do you want to have something to say?
I can't believe you don't think New Orleans is in the South.
When I hear about the South, it's a region to me, not just. I mean, Los Angeles ain't in the South, though it's very South.
I understand.
And I think there's a barrier that New Orleans hasn't crossed. And I say that on very firm footing, having never been in the state of Louisiana myself ever once.
You're amazing.
I have a friend. I'll ask him. Eric, New Orleans in the South? We'll find out for you. Boys and girls, have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have you been in an accident and have no idea what to do? I'm here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys.
Unfortunately, people are injured in accidents every day, and dealing with the insurance company can add even more pain to an already bad situation. That is where hiring the advocates can help. Let us guide you through the process and take on the hassles for you so you can just focus on getting better.
If you've been injured in an accident, give the Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. The Advocates are on your side.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group